You are making the world a better place by listening to the Joy of Living podcast. This is your guide to achieving a more purposeful, powerful, and positive life. Join Barry Shore in unlocking the best version of you and becoming happier, healthier, and wealthier. And now, here's your ambassador of joy, Barry Shore.
Good day, beautiful, bountiful, beloved, immortal beings, and good-looking people. Remember, you're good-looking because you're always looking for and finding the good. And we have good in abundance overflowing today. What an amazing show, because our guest is going to help transform you and allow you to become the biggest, best possible you, and do it through giving. We'll be discussing that in great detail as the show goes along. But right now, I just want to applaud you for making the conscientious choice to tune into the joy of living with your humble host, Barry Shore. And as you know, in this show, we discuss the three most fundamental parts of life. And these three fundamentals are, number one, life. Your life has purpose. And when you lead a purpose-driven life, you can go mad. Now, MAD in this case is a great acronym that stands for Make a Difference. And the third thing is to unlock the power and the secrets of everyday words and terms. And I just want to share with you at this very moment, you are being joined by almost 350,000 people, actually 350,820 people as we begin the show. And hopefully we'll have over 870,000 by the time we finish. And I thank you so much, because every week we have at least 330,000 people. And you're always asking friends to join, because you know, in this show, the joy of living, it's all about you. Y-O-U-E-W-E. That's why you tuned in, because you want to become the best possible you. And that's great, because when you are the best possible you create more bridges of harmony. You bring more joy, happiness, peace, and love into the world. And the result of that is that you will be happier, healthier, and wealthier. Who doesn't want that? We're going to be discussing that, the idea of being wealthier through giving. So as I said, the third is to unlock the power and the secrets of everyday words and terms. Like simple example, right now, this show is being carried over the internet, which of course, that mythical, magical, mysterious platform that enables people all over the world to simultaneously listen to and see what's going on with each other. And if you ask anybody, what does www stand for? Invariably, they'll tell you it has to do with the internet. And factually speaking, they're correct. But in our world, the world of the positive, purposeful, powerful, and pleasant, www stands for what a wonderful world. And what is a word, right? W-H-A-T-A. What a wonderful world. And of course, the tip of the hat and a big thank you to Louis Armstrong, Satchmo, for enabling that song to go viral and touch not just tens of millions or hundreds of millions, but billions of people around the planet. And whenever you hear even the opening bars of that song, what a wonderful world, what do you do right away? You can't help it. You smile. Now, smile is one of the most important words you could ever internalize, utilize, and leverage in your life, because smile stands for seeing miracles in life every day. Seeing miracles in life every day. Now, just before the pandemic, and by the way, God willing, this is going to go over. You won't even think about it in a couple of years. Be terrible part of history. But I was speaking to a group of people in person, no mask, before the pandemic, about 5,200 people in the audience. And I was telling the story about Barry Shore and mentioning smile, seeing miracles in life every day. People raising their hands, hey, Barry Shore, I've been up for hours. I haven't seen any miracles. And I asked them, are you here? Can you hear? Can you see? Can you stand still? I can. Can you walk? I can barely do that. You have water, drink, food to eat, place to sleep, family, friends. Every single one of those is a miracle. Now, what's the simplest proof? Simple proof. 1 million people didn't get out of bed this morning. You know why? They died. By definition, if you're watching or listening, you didn't. And now you have an obligation to live life exuberantly. So imagine the following. Standing up in the morning, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound, and that night being in the hospital, totally, completely paralyzed. That's the story of Barry Shore. overnight, not from an automobile accident, not a spinal injury, a rare disease which I never heard of the day before, took over my body and rendered me a quadriplegic. Nothing in my body moved. 144 days in the hospital. I was in a hospital bed in my own home for 2 years. I couldn't turn over by myself. I was in a wheelchair for 4 years. I had braces on both my legs, my hips to my ankles, and that was progress. Thank God today I'm able to be vertical and ambulatory with the help of a 7-foot walking wand. So I'm a triped, not a biped. I still can't walk up a curb by myself. I can't walk up a stair by myself. And I've helped 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. But you hear my voice. Positive, purposeful, powerful, and pleasant, all because of that one word. Smile, seeing miracles in life every day. I got to tell you a quick story. My 80-year-old niece comes over to me a few weeks ago. She says, Uncle Barry, can we spell smile S-M-I-E-L? And I thought about it. It sounds the same. I asked her, how come? She said, because then it would stand for seeing miracles in everyday life. Out of the mouth of babes. But what was she doing? She was creating the kind of world she wants to live in. Now, create is a great word that stands for causing rethinking, enabling all to excel. Rethinking, the ability to do neuro-linguistic programming to shift your understanding of the world. Now, most people can't, so for some reason they drop the F and shift and other stuff happens. But when you shift your orientation, in this case, talking about giving today, then you're going to literally make all the difference in the world. Your neuro-linguistic programming will cause you to do rethinking and make your life that much better. Now, I have to warn everybody in advance, those who are new and our guests also, that I do use a lot of 4-letter words. I even use the 4-letter FU word, and I do it because there's shock value and it's fun. But the 4-letter words that we use, because we live in the world of positive, purposeful, powerful, and pleasant, are love, life, hope, free, gift, give, love, what do I say? Pray, play, swim. 4-letter words. And the FU 4-letter word is fun. Fun, yes, F-U, capital N, capital N. I see people raising hands when everybody say, hey, Barry Shaw, fun's only spelled with 3 letters. Not in our world. The world of the positive, purposeful, powerful, and pleasant. Fun is spelled F-U, capital N, capital N. So after the show, when you see your family and friends, people ask you, tell them you see hello, and you have a twinkle in your eye and a smile on your face, point your finger, say, F you, everybody. You say, what are you talking about? Where'd you get that? I say, I listen to Barry Shore, The Joy of Living. He wants to teach the world to F you, capital N, capital N. It helps bring conversation, tell about what you learned on the show of The Joy of Living. Now, before we bring on our amazing guest, truly amazing, he puts the zing in amazing. I'm going to urge everybody to use 3 times a day from now and the rest of your life, the 2 most important words, 2 most powerful words in the English language, because it will make your life better, the life of your family, your friends, and the whole world. And these 2 words are, drum roll, fanfare, da-dun, da-da, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thanks stands for to harmonize and network kindness. To harmonize and network kindness. Dalai Lama is quoted as saying, read in his writings, be kind whenever possible. And as he says, it's always possible. So imagine when you're going back into your coffee shop, no mask, and it's all gone, forget it. And you order your fancy latte and you sit down, somebody brings it to you. Say thank you. You walk in the coffee shop, you order a fancy latte, a few minutes go by, nobody brings it to you, go to the counter, say, oh, I'm sorry, we forgot, we'll bring it to you. Sit down, a couple more minutes go by, you still say thank you. You're walking out of the coffee shop and it's raining out. Somebody holds the door open for you. You say, thank you. You're walking out of the coffee shop. Somebody slams the door on you. You say, thank you. You're stuck in traffic. You're late for the plane. Somebody cuts you off. You say, thank you. You get up in the middle of the night and you stub your toe and it hurts. You say, thank you. To harmonize and network kindness. Kind stands for keep inspiring noble deeds. I cannot think of anybody that inspires noble deeds that I want to share with you than this amazing, wonderful person named Gershon Distenfeld. Gershon, please say hello to 357,222 people around the world.
Hello, everybody. I'm very humbled, Barry, by your introduction. I'm not sure I'm worthy of it.
More than you. Gershon Distenfeld is, as you're going to hear, one of the most remarkable 2-legged human beings on the earth at this very moment. And I am just so tickled. I'm tickling myself that he's here with us to share with us, because we're going to talk about and think about and really make a difference in the world through giving, because that's the essence of Gershon. I just want to, if I start reading all the things about Gershon Distenfeld, take up the rest of the show. But I'm going to give you several just brief understanding of something. The essence of Gershon is that he is a practicing, observant Jew. Now, for those people around the world, because we have people listening all over the world, Gershon, in China, India, and Philippines, and through Africa, Europe, obviously United States, and Latin America. So people to get the sense of this, we're talking about Judaism, which is the oldest monotheistic religion in the world. The followers of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Moses, and David, and Solomon, and all the great prophets of the world, going back over 3,500 years. And because people are part of that tradition, they take the Bible seriously and ingrain it into their very being. So a biblical imperative has to do with giving. The essence of the Jew is in giving. Now, it happens to be that that's the essence of Gershon. He also happens to be one of the most successful bond traders in the world. He deals with the portfolio $300 billion. And one of his little claims to fame, little, but it's a claim to fame, written up in newspapers and such, is that he is an expert poker player. By definition, he plays in the World Series of Poker, which is famous all over the world. And he wins. But here's the best part. He gives away his winnings. So with that as a backdrop, wonderful Gershon, let's talk about what has sparked this interest around the world about you, Orthodox Jew, playing poker, winning, and now giving your winnings, and not only giving, but encouraging others to win. So let's just start with you, Gershon. How does playing poker mesh with your life?
Well, it's I appreciate you characterizing it as I'm an expert player. I'd say I'm more of a recreational player. I don't have a very busy life between my job, as you mentioned, and I have a family with 4 children. So I don't have that much time. I play poker a few times a year, but I did have some recent success. But Barry, I want to hark back to what you said about an observant Jew who takes the Bible very seriously. I think sometimes people think about the Bible as just a set of archaic laws, keeping the Sabbath, not refraining from work one day a week, or making sure you only eat certain animals and not others. But the reality is that the Bible is a book of giving. For all those things, to use those examples, the Bible doesn't talk about the Sabbath all that much. What does it talk about? I think 37 times it says that you need to love and do for the widow and the orphan and the convert. The first set of laws that God gives after Mount Sinai is what are known as mishpatim, are civil laws, business laws. So the Bible is very much a book of giving. It doesn't always get that rap, but it truly is. And the essence of not just a Jew, but any person in this world is to give. There's a lot of psychological, I'm not a psychologist or anything, but a lot of studies that show that giving does all sorts of wonderful things for a person. In fact, the sages of the Talmud teach us that often more than one does for the one who they give to, the one who they give to does for them, because it makes you into a better person. It makes you into a vehicle for creating godliness on the earth. So I'll pause there. I said a lot.
By the way, this is so wonderful. Let's unpack a little bit what you just said, because it's so positive, purposeful, powerful, and pleasant. The Bible is not archaic. It's not something you pick up and dust off every once in a while, open up. It is living, breathing, animating beings, because without it and its underlying fundamental principles, you cannot succeed fully in life. To go, let's say, to your point about giving, it is not giving internally in the family, in the tribe. It is the ability to give and to recognize that all human beings are created in the image of the Creator, whose very essence is giving. That's how the world was created. It was built upon kindliness and giving and such like that. And it's very funny you said that. Fun. By the way, when was the last time somebody said F you to you and you laughed? So fun. You said you're a recreational poker player. So first of all, the word recreation or recreate, I find very interesting because the essence of it is create. And to recreate means to literally be in that process where you're in touch with the essence of life. Because that's really what happens in business. In my humble opinion, business is the most telling part of the human experience because it's, to use a cliche, the rubber meets the road. It's how you perform and behave in the business environment, dealing with money, that really talks about who the human being is. Now, by the way, the interesting thing about the word business, if you notice, business, the U comes before the I. When the you is recognized first, then you have the ability to do business for the greater good. So let's talk about your recreational poker, because it's just so fascinating in the sense that poker is, and I have to, my misspent youth was playing a lot of poker. I had to stay away from it after college because it entrances. It could entrap. It really is. It's very sexy. You can spend a lot of time doing it, and you know how to manage your time well. You came to later in life, which is very good. But the point is that in poker is a game of skill. It takes rational thinking. It takes understanding human beings. It takes the ability to recognize probabilities. So there is an element of what people call luck or chance. In the short term, luck wins, but in the long term, it's skill. So I'd like you, if you'd be so kind, speak about the process of you as a skilled bond trader, and we'll talk about that later, entering the world of poker and seeing it as a skill function and what that means for you. And then we'll talk about why it is that you are encouraging all poker players to be givers.
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of similarities between business or investing and poker. The biggest one being that we deal with incomplete information. We have to make decisions based on incomplete information. I can research a company as much as 24/7, and I still will not know nearly as much as there is to know. And the same thing in poker. You're making decisions, as you said, Barry, based on probability, but in essence, you're using your best judgment, psychology, trying to read the other player. And the other thing, Barry, you mentioned is the luck factor. The truth of the matter is, in investing in the short term, there's a lot of randomness and a lot of luck, and the same thing is in poker. And that's true in life as well. Life has ups and downs. The successful person is the one who can really get through the downs and realize the downs are just noise in life, live a happy existence by focusing really, really on the positive.
This is so instructional. By the way, let's go to something in your personal life. What attracted you to the idea of playing poker, even on a recreational basis, as you say, with a wink and a nod? Because you are in the World Series of Poker. That doesn't happen just because you play cards once in a while. What attracted you initially to the idea even of playing at a high level?
Well, I'm a very competitive person. I try and use that competitiveness for good, but I'm very driven. And I wanted to, it was a game that interested me. It was made, pretty famous almost 20 years ago when someone named Chris Moneymaker won the World Series of Poker back in 2003. It started to be televised a lot. There's always something that interested me. What really got me to focus on the game so much? I don't know. I kind of think that it's one of those things where you can compete with the best of the world. It's realistic. I'll use an analogy. I could practice my swing in golf all day long. I'm never going to make the PGA Tour. Never going to happen.
By the way,
right?
First of all, I've never seen Gershon swing a club, but I believe that because let's be blunt, there are these people at the top of the game that your eyes bulge when you see some of the shots they do, and they do it with their nonplussed being. Yeah. So, okay.
Well, interestingly, Tiger Woods and I were born on the exact same day, December 30th, 1975, but he took all the golf talent. I took some other talents. But look,
Have
think
you
about it.
communicated, by the way, Gershon, have you communicated with him and told him that?
I don't think he'd
You need
be
to.
interested.
You need to send him
All right,
a note.
get me in contact with him. I'd be happy to do that.
Please, Neder, we'll do that. Thank you.
Okay. So look, same thing. I could practice basketball all day long. If I play LeBron James a million times one-on-one, he beats me all a million times. Right? Poker's different. Am I as good as the best pros in the world? Definitely not. But if I go head to head against him, maybe I have a 30% chance of winning. So it's attainable, it's reachable. And I think in life it's important. Sometimes we go after dreams that are just not attainable. One has to be realistic in what they can accomplish. This was something that maybe it was low probability that I would succeed, but there was some probability.
By the way, speaking of the best in the world in quotation marks, and this is, by the way, judged by winnings. Let's be blunt. The more you win, those bracelets that you get. Have you met excuse me. He didn't show it off because I asked him to. He did it in the most beautiful, gentle way possible. There are people, this is a big thing to everybody who's watching. If you don't know about what the bracelet means, the World Series of Poker, just go and search, and you'll smile and say, "Wow, I just saw the guy who has one." It's like the Super Bowl ring or one of those things. But have you met Phil Ivey or I don't know, Doyle Brunson? Have you ever met these guys, or even Daniel Negreanu?
Yeah, Daniel Negreanu was I actually met him for the first time this World Series of Poker. I shook his hand, took a picture with him. He knew exactly who I was. He knew my story. I played at the same table as some of the greats, like Phil Hellmuth, who has the most World Series of Poker bracelets out there. So yeah, it's a kind of game where the recreational players can play with the big stars, so you get to meet them. And in fact, I also met another observant Jew, Ari Engel, who's a professional poker player. He plays full time. I was at the event that I won. I was at the final table with him. There's no question he's a better player, a more accomplished player. I had the good fortune of knocking him out during that final table, but I got to know him a little bit. Really, really great guy. So yeah, you get to meet a lot of.
First of all, great shout out to Ari, and what you're saying is so, how should we say it, encouraging, not just for poker players, but see, what we're doing now is we're talking about you. Remember, the whole reason you tune into The Joy of Living is not just because of Gershon, great guy that he is, or Barry, what a wonderful guy. It's all about you, Y-O-U. And what Gershon is sharing with us is that this analogy to what he discovered in poker, something obtainable, is for each one of us. Because remember the three fundamentals. Life has purpose. When you lead a purpose-driven life, you go mad. Mad makes a difference. So let's talk about the madman that we have in front of us now, because that's really what animates and drives him. You are absolutely mad, aren't you, Gershon? You're here to make a difference. So let's talk about, okay, knocking out Ari, that's interesting. But what is it that you did this year at the World Series of Poker that you've done in past years, but this year you added something else? What is it you added this year?
Well, I don't know. I added that I actually won the tournament. That's an add, but I think I was consistent this year and last year when I made the final table of a major tournament, is that I pledged to give away all of my winnings to charity. Now, one of the things you said before, to be a giver, there are many different ways to give. My wife and I have been incredibly blessed with financial means and the ability to give away our money and our time as well. But that's the point. Not everyone is going to have lots of money to give away, or even any money to give away. But you can give in many other ways. You can, as Barry, you mentioned, you could smile at someone, but you can donate your time, right? Many, many needs out there. You can donate your talents. I have a good friend who's a dentist and spends a couple weeks a year just in low income areas providing dentistry to those that can't afford it. There's many, many different ways to give. And I believe that all of us, in whatever capacity we are, that we're blessed. And you mentioned, Barry, you all woke up this morning as a million people did not. If you're healthy, if you're able to be productive, you have an obligation. And this is not even a religious concept. I think you have an obligation to give back and to help make the world a better place.
So this is the madman speaking to you. And he's doing it with a smile on his face. That's number one. And I want to urge everybody to understand, we talk about the joy of living and, you know, Barry Shaw's story, and he's animated and such, but the joy of living can be summed up in one word. And that word is giving. That's the joy of living. That's what joy stands for, Gershon, journey of you. That's the acronym for joy.
It's actually, Barry, it's also a form of love. The Hebrew word for love is ahava. Now, not everyone will understand the Hebrew here, but it comes from the root hav, which means to give. The more you give, the more you love something. You love people, you love your spouse, you love your children. What do we do for our children? Who doesn't love their children more than anything in life? We give to them. We want to give to them. That's the approach that we should be taking in all aspects of our life. And the lesson from, I don't think, you mentioned, Barry, poker is not for everyone. It's probably not for most people. You can get addicted to it. It's not, I wouldn't recommend that youngsters, teenagers play it. I don't personally play against friends. I don't think that's a good thing to do either. But the lesson here that I want to give over is certainly not that you should strive to be a great poker player, but, and not even, believe it or not, that one should give away a lot of money, although everyone should, each according to his or her own means. I think the point here is that in any aspect of life, we all have our own hobbies. Every person has a different hobby, or you'll be put in a situation in life. One has the ability to use that situation to do good and to make the world a better place, or God forbid, the opposite. And everything's like that in life. It can be used for good or it can be used for bad. So most people listening to this are not going to be big poker players, but maybe you do well in business. You do well in your profession, in some other area of your life. One should feel an obligation to give back from that goodness that's been bestowed upon you.
So this is wonderful. What Ari is mentioning, again, to wax eloquent upon the Bible, not us, on the Bible. And biblical themes, by the way, are the essence of the three great monotheistic religions: Judaism, Christianity, Islam, practiced in the most perfect way in its peaceful aspect, is about the idea of obligation to give and the ability to move from what I call obligation to opportunity. Obligation to give, when you start giving and you build up a giving muscle, as it were, and you become good at it, doing it daily. I don't care if you give a penny a day in terms of money or 10 minutes a day in terms of helping other people, like you already said, give somebody a smile. Hello, that's giving, because it's coming from you internally. When you can move from obligation to opportunity and recognize that that is the most fulfilling aspect of being alive in the world, then what you're doing is you're creating that wondrous ripple effect. So there's a great line that I think is attributed to Albert Schweitzer, who was a great giver, that said, example is not the main thing in teaching others. It's the only thing. And that's the reason, by the way, I asked and pleaded for Gershon to make time to come here today, is to, by his example. So let's go into the ether for the moment. You're right. Not everybody can do this. How much did you win this year in the World Series of Poker?
This year I won about $204,000. Last year
I want to say it again. $204,000 he won. Yeah. So what'd you do with that money?
I donated it to various causes that help make the world a better place. I tend to look at my charity as I look at investing. I look for returns. The old adage, you can give a man a fish and he eats for a day. You can teach a man to fish and he can, feed himself for a lifetime. So, I try and utilize my charitable dollars in ways that can make an everlasting impact. I'll give you a good example of something that I've been very involved in.
I'll tell you what I'm going to ask you to do. Okay. Hold that right there, people on the edge of their seat, because we have sponsors that love the show and we want them to share their information with people. So don't go away. There's more Gershon on the other side of these brief breaks, and he's going to give us examples. Be right back after this. Hi, everybody. Barry Shaw here, the ambassador of joy. We've entered into the fall season, and fall means coming up to winter, holidays, all kinds of stuff, not just stuff, stress, stress. I've spoken about stress many times on the show, and with stress coming on with the holiday season, everybody wants to be happy and such, but everybody knows what's going on. I want to talk to you about something really important for your benefit. It's called Talkspace, TalkSpace, Talkspace.com. This is an online therapy program, show, website, and it's available for you. It is so important for you to be involved. You all know my story. Standing up in the morning, hale and hearty, in the evening, quadriplegic. Okay, nobody has to go through something that drastic to know that speaking to somebody, a professional, licensed therapist, can be of benefit. I know it's true. It helped me. It can help you. This is so easy to do. You are talking about secure, professional process. It's the #1 online therapy platform in the country. It works around your schedule, your convenience. I urge you, please match yourself with a licensed therapist. Go to Talkspace.com, Talkspace, Talkspace.com. Get $100 off your first month with the promo code Barry, Barry. Go to Talkspace.com, put in the promo code Barry, Barry, and you'll get $100 off your first month. Please do it. You'll thank me. Best wishes. Bye now. Imagine the kind of place you would want to shop for your favorite fur baby pet. HonestPets.co. Well, you found it. HonestPets.co. Not .com, .co. This is your go-to spot for the best, the cleanest pet treats that exist anywhere on the planet. All of the brands go through a rigorous review to make sure they meet the high standards of cleanliness, health benefits, and naturalness. This site was started by a husband and wife team, and it's veteran-owned, and that care about pets, especially dogs and cats, and coming soon, bird treats. These are very nice young people who really care about making a difference, because a portion of proceeds go to support veteran organizations with a focus on service dogs. This is the place where you want to go. You want to tell your friends this has the finest, yummiest, freshest, all-natural treats and stuff for your fur baby. So go there, honestpets.co. honestpets.co. Do it now. Good day, beautiful, bountiful, beloved, immortal being, and good-looking people. Remember, you're good-looking because you're always looking for and finding the good. We have good. Our cup runneth over with good. In the person of Gershon Distenfeld. He is a competitor for good. That's what he told us. He's a bond trader trading $300 billion department. He's the head of a $300 billion department bond trading. He's a world-class poker player, just won in the World Series of Poker $204,000. And he's going to tell us about donating all that money because he's an example of what he says. He walks his talk. Gershon, give us the example you're about to tell us.
I'll give two quick examples. Again, with the theme of trying to utilize funds to help people in a more lasting way. One is an organization called Minds Matter. It's an organization that prepares underprivileged children, kids for college that wouldn't have the resources to otherwise do so. Again, furthering an education, something that lasts a lot longer than the actual dollars you're giving today. The second example is my wife and I donated many years ago to grow a program that was in its infancy called NCSY Chesed Missions. Chesed is the Hebrew word for kindness. And what these programs do is they take youngsters into disaster areas that have had natural disasters. Could have been New Orleans, Houston, Puerto Rico, and others, and go and help rebuild those communities. And the reason that's so powerful is it's not just the help that you give people, which is very big in and of itself. it's the impact this makes on the lives of these youngsters. A lot of them growing up in middle to upper class homes haven't really had adversity in life. They go out there, and one, it gives them a better appreciation of all the blessings that they have in their life. But more than that, they learn for the first time how to really give back to someone in need. And you know what? It feels good. It feels these kids have purpose. And the idea of these programs, and my wife and I attend them every year. I'm actually going to one in New Orleans in March, where I get my hands dirty, build houses. Like the leader of the program actually a couple of years ago asked, Gershon, why is he hammering away here? I guarantee if in his house something had to be fixed, he wouldn't do it himself. He'd call someone, which is absolutely true.
Right, of course.
But what's the lesson? The lesson is that one has to be able to give in any way they can. Again, one can give through money. One can give through volunteering time, through just spending time. There's so many lonely, elderly people out there, right? There's so many ways to give back. And trust me, we live in a world where there's a lot of selfishness, and that has its time and place. But for those that haven't experienced true giving, it can feel so much better. You want something, you get a new car, a new toy, a new whatever, a new iPhone. The joy lasts, it's fleeting, right? Life goes back to normal the next day for the most part, right? But when you actually give to someone, that feels really, really good, everlasting, enduring fashion.
So this is wonderful. The acronym that we use for IT is information transformation. What you've been sharing with us now is transformative processes like Minds and Matter and the Chesed Fund for kids to go. It is so vital for people to understand another biblical idea. It is one thing to be blessed. And we talk about being blessed means that you have good health. You're somewhat happy. I don't care how happy you are. You don't have to be Barry Shore, but as long as you're happy and you have some means of feeding yourself and your family and such like that's called wealth. The ability to be a blessing in the world is the higher calling. That's the Abrahamic tradition. Being blessed is one thing. To become a blessing is when all of this happens and you now grow. So if you plant the seed in the earth and it's a seed of wheat, a seed of one seed doesn't sprout one wheat on a stalk. It produces hundreds and hundreds of grains. That's what Gershon, I believe, is talking about here, right? The ability to literally transform one's life from blessed into blessing now becomes a cog. A cog, some people think a cog is just a little piece in a big machine. Well, a cog in Barry Shore's world stands for, because we love acronyms, stands for channel of goodness, child of God. When you recognize that's who you are and what you do, then you become the change maker in the world. You become as good at what you do as what Tiger Woods does in golf, just because you're helping another person. There is nothing more powerful in life than extending a hand, whether it's money, time, example, smile, than doing that. So Gershon, this is so wondrous, the ability to fund these things. So you won $204,000 this year. You've won also in previous years, and you donate all of your, not 1%, not 5%, not 10%, all of your winnings. Now, of course, people say, well, just Gershon does very well in business, and he does. But it's the mind and matter. He funds something called Mind and Matter. It's his mind that enabled him to understand that the heart and the mind together need to work in the world. So again, little inside baseball stuff. In Hebrew, the word for giving is called natan or nasan, depending how you pronounce it. But it's spelled in an interesting way. It's a palindrome. As you spell it one way, it's spelled the same the other way, because that's the essence of giving. Giving is a reciprocity in life. No one gives to receive, but it's a law in the world. Now, law, by the way, is a great word, Gershon. Law stands for love and wisdom. How do you like that? That's nice. The law. Love.
Learning a lot of acronyms here, Barry. This is great.
That's my world. We uncover the power and the secrets of everyday words and terms, because words matter. what you say, Gershon, makes a difference, isn't it? When you stood up at the end of the World Series of Poker and you urged your fellow poker players to donate some of their winnings to, I prefer not using charity. I like the idea of cause better, but the idea of giving and urging people. See, it's one thing to be a giver yourself. Literally encouraging other people to follow suit, excuse the pun, talking about poker, is that actually expands the universe. That's the genius of enlightened consciousness, is to become that light unto the world by saying, this is what I do. I urge you to do the same. You know why? Because it's competitive for good. Wouldn't it be nice, Gershon, if somebody says, Gershon, I'm going to see you and raise you with winnings, right?
Yeah, look,
Okay.
as an observant Jew, Barry, I tried my whole life to give away at least 10% of my earnings, which I've striven, which I thankfully been able to accomplish. And again, as to the point you made earlier, Barry, we want to stress, right? Yes, most people are not in my position to give away that kind of money, but that's totally okay. There are so many other ways to give. Right. And you mentioned, it's in the writings of the Psalms, right? Olam chesed boneh. The world, it's people often translate it as the world is built on kindness. It's not an exact translation. Boneh is really future tense. The literal meaning is the world will be built on kindness. And I think it's a way of God saying through the prophets here that, part or a large part of what he put people on the earth to do was to make the world a better place through their acts of giving and through their acts of kindness. So yes, I did implore. I thought it was a good opportunity to implore, people that make a lot of money off of poker. And, I actually asked people to make a 1% pledge, which many of the top players did, that they would give away 1% of their earnings. And I think that, again, it's not just for poker. It's any success you have in life, and success is not just monetary. I mentioned an example of my dentist friend before. You have a certain talent that you can bring. It could be something that you think is very mundane. You're an accountant, you prepare taxes for a living, right? Go and give some financial advice, some tax advice to someone who wouldn't normally seek it out. There's an infinite amount of ways for people to give. Almost everyone can give with their time. That's probably the best way to give. And there are so many needs out there. If anyone has any problems finding needs, I'm sure, Barry, you'll help them. I'll help them as well.
Well, let me tell you a great acronym for time. Actually, there's three of them. Here's one, right? Because you mentioned it. Time stands for thinking it's miraculous every day. And when you understand that you're literally here on this earth and you are a miracle, and our time is unknown to us. As you said about poker, we're dealing with insufficient information all the time. We don't know what the day brings, but if you think that it's miraculous every day and you teach it's miraculous every day because you know that it's miraculous every day, you will want to be a giver of your time, literally helping out someone else. Picking up the phone, one of the things that I encourage people to do in my book called The Joy of Living, How to Slay Stress and Be Happy, is to pick up the phone, whatever that device is that you use, and make 3 phone calls a week. And I urge people actually to call not just people that you know and love, call people you don't like or you think don't like you. In other words, create a connection, because kind also stands for connecting in nature daily. And the nature of life is to be with other human beings. Gershon, I want to ask you, because it's just so germane to what you do. You like to disrupt in the most positive way. I want you to speak about what you're doing in a school environment. Now, it happens to be a Jewish school, it's a parochial school, but it applies to all kinds of schools, because I think you saw something that was ossifying and you said, I think we need to shake it up. Speak to
Barry, this goes back a decade plus ago. I founded a school, it was a parochial school in northern New Jersey where I was living at the time. that had a very different approach to education, much more innovative approach, much less focus on kind of the frontal learning that's traditionally done in classrooms, and more towards grouping kids together based on their abilities and having teachers work with small groups of kids while other groups worked on projects, got assessed by computers. A very, very innovative model. Also had the part of the goal there was also to reduce the cost of running such a model, and that really accomplished both. Today, it's a thriving school of almost 700 children from kindergarten through 8th grade. So yes, I've disrupted things in the business world. I've disrupted things in my personal life. I think one has an obligation to always take a fresh look at things, never to assume that the way things are being done is the best way there are, and to tackle problems in an out-of-the-box, creative, innovative way.
So this is great. Everybody knows the word assume, so I won't say that one again. As an example, and I'm going to go back to you in a moment, Elon Musk has become, on paper, the wealthiest man in the history of the world. And it's funny because I'm going to say these words because people say, huh, did you really say that? I did say this. He didn't invent the electric car. He reinvented the electric car. Before there was an internal combustion engine, there was an electric car. It preceded the internal combustion engine. Happens to be because of certain situations that the internal combustion engine was far more efficient than electric driven car. But when Elon Musk came along, he reinvented the electric car, and because of tax breaks and all kinds of other things, it didn't just grow. It's a sequoia. It's a grove of sequoias. It's changing the entire structure of the automotive industry. And along with the structure of the automotive industry, it's changing how automobiles are functioning, because we will have driverless cars pretty soon. So it's not just that Elon Musk is the richest person in the world. That's what people point to. He's also, and by the way, using now some of his billions to create a disruption in education. I'm not sure if you know about this. I think you do, Gershon. He's looking to build new infrastructure in Austin of new ways of teaching, because we need it. And let's just talk about you. And we only have a few minutes left, but a little bit about the bond market, because I know as much about the bond market as you know about, how should we say it, cultivating bonsai. You may know, and actually you may be an expert, but let's presume. So just a little bit, the bond market, and you're dealing with tens of billions, if not hundreds of billions over the course of a year. Doesn't that take all of your mind and your heart? How do you sort of live as a human being with all that stuff happening?
Well, I have a very large and capable team under me that worries about a lot of the details. Look, the bond market's fascinating. Like I like probably most people, grew up following the stock market, and I was interested in finance. Never thought I'd have a career in bonds, but through a lot of things we've been talking about, through happenstance and through the situation you get put in, I was able to have a career. I actually spent most of my career dealing in what's known as junk bonds, which are making loans to very, very high yield, very risky companies. But there are all sorts of bonds. To me, like I said, equities relative to bonds, in my maybe nerdy math world, equities are boring. There's one security, changes price every day. There's all kinds of different bonds. We loan money to municipalities, to foreign governments, to corporations, to U.S. homeowners. And there's many different aspects of a bond. How long are you lending the money for? What's the rate? What are the provisions of the bond? Can the bond be what's known as called by the issuer? Can they be taken out early? There's and more. There's a lot of different permutations. So, I think we mentioned at the outset, probability in poker. It annoys my wife sometimes. I think everything in terms of probability. And the truth is, I think that's how we make decisions in life.
Yeah.
Even if we explicitly assign a probability, we're making good risk. Hopefully, we're all trying to make good risk-adjusted decisions based on probability. No one knows for sure what tomorrow is going to bring. You mentioned, Barry, 1 million people tomorrow will not wake up. We don't know. We try and make good decisions based on the available data that we have. Hopefully, most people should know that again, just like poker, you don't have all the information. You have to make decisions on incomplete information. You make a decision of what career to pursue based on your own talents and what you think you'd be interested in. Maybe you're making the best decision, maybe you're not. We all make decisions, in small ones in everyday life and the larger ones, who we're going to marry, where we're going to live. One just has to get used to dealing in uncertainty.
By the way, this is so wonderful because people, I believe, are looking for surety. In other words, blonde is a 4-letter word because it poses as surety. And yet, as you mentioned, there are risks in everything. That's the nature of life. They used to say about the head of General Motors many years ago, he said about himself, if you make 51% of your decisions that turn out to be correct, you're considered a genius in business. So,
that, by the way, that's very true. It's like people often come to me and say, what's your opinion? Where are rates going? Where's the stock market going? I'm like, I don't know in the short. Nobody really knows in the short term. Yes, that's the game that I play in business, but it's the game you play in poker also. If you're right, in some disciplines it's 51% of the time, maybe in some disciplines it's 60% of the time, but you're right a little bit more than you get wrong. It's the law of large numbers, right? And the analogy I like to give is, let's say there's a contest I give you. I have a bag and there's 3 balls in it you can pick out from. 1 is red and 2 are blue, but you get you can bet $1 on it. If you're rational, you'll pick the blue ball because there's a 2/3 chance. But you stick your hand in and you pull out the red ball. So, which had a 1 in 3 chance of happening. Does that mean you made a bad decision? No, you had short-term a bad outcome. If you went and pulled the ball out, 1 million times, roughly 1/3 of them are going to be, roughly 2/3, you're going to have made the right bet. So it's a law of large numbers. We often judge our decisions by the outcome. The outcome is only one of an infinite amount of things that could happen. What we need to do in life is make good decisions, right? You could, in the short term, you can make a good decision, have a bad outcome. You can make a bad decision and get lucky. This is true in poker, and it's true in life, and it's true in business. But if we're consistently making good decisions, then over the long run, more good things are going to happen than bad. And that's what we need to strive for in life.
And I would add this as a postscript, that if your decision making is driven by what we'll call good thoughts, words, and deeds, I want to be a giver. I am a giver, and I'm making my decisions based around the biblical principles. Then by definition, law will work. Love and wisdom will out because of the law of large numbers. This has been so wonderful, Gershon. Gershon, I have 3 questions for you. I'm going to ask you in rapid succession. You ready? The first one is, will you come back again?
Absolutely. If you find me interesting enough and it would help your audience, I'd be happy to come back again.
Thank you. Thank you. Second is, you have 80 seconds to answer this question.
Uh-oh.
What is your most fervent desire?
My most fervent desire is for us as a society to be more tolerant and understanding of each other. We see it in the political climate right now. It's no longer, I have different politics than you. It becomes personal. So I'd like to really see, I think I would make the world a lot better place. Just be tolerant of people who don't see eye to eye with you.
Thank you. US stands for United Souls. Once we recognize that we're souls and we're all united, it can happen. That's where tolerance comes in. And the third question is, and I'm going to actually do it even no matter what you say, can I give you a hug in front of 362,000 people around the world?
Sure.
Okay, but let me tell you what HUG stands for. Ready? Heartfelt, unlimited giving. Here we go.
Beautiful.
1, 2, 3.
Well, hopefully, Barry, we can meet in person at some point and have a real hug.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it. I got to show you one thing, only because it's you. So let me just pull this up. You see what that reads? Wait a minute, Gershon, what does that read?
Dream big.
Okay, this is you. Dream stands for, oh, I got to do it right now. Can you read it?
Yep. Doing remarkable, exceptional, amazing manifestations. Wow.
Right. And what does BIG stand for?
Believe in giving.
And you've been listening to The Joy of Living with your humble host, Barry Shore, and our amazing guest, Gershon Distenfeld. And you know, in this show, the reason you tuned in is all because of you. You want to be the best you possible. Gershon's a great guy. Barry Shore's a great guy, but it's all about you. And when you use the three fundamentals of life, as we discussed, life has purpose. Number two, you can go mad, go make a difference. No matter what you have, it doesn't just mean your money. It's time. It's you. Give of you. You make the world a better place. And number three is unlock the power and the secrets of everyday words and terms like WWW, what a wonderful world, smile, seeing miracles in life every day, or as my 8-year-old niece says, seeing miracles in everyday life. Create the kind of world you want to live in, causing rethinking, enabling all to excel, as Gershon has said, rethinking, utilizing all of your assets to become not just blessed, but a blessing into the world. And use 4-letter words like love, life, hope, grow, bond, free, gift, pray, play, swim, and tell people, F you, capital N, capital N. But so where'd you get that? Listen to Barry Shore, The Joy of Living. Remember, the joy of living can be summed up in one word, and that word is giving, as you've heard from our amazing, wonderful, winning Gershon Distenfeld. And again, we urge everybody, when you do all this, you will be happier, healthier, and wealthier. Who doesn't want that? So I urge you all to use the two most powerful words in the English language at least 3 times a day. And if you do this consciously and conscientiously from now and the rest of your life, you will be happier. You'll make your family happier, your friends, and all the world. And these 2 words are thank you, thank you, thank you, to harmonize and network kindness, to harmonize and network kindness. Everyone you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about. Be kind always. Keep inspiring noble deeds. Learn the lessons. I urge you, listen to this again. Share this with at least 5 people. Then we'll have over 1.5 million people around the world listening. Everything you want to know about Gershon and all the stuff that he does and succeeds at is amazing. Just go to my website, www.barryshore.com. It's all there. barryshore.com. Everything about Gershon will be there. So share this, listen to it again, and be transformed by this wonderful information and become you, the best you, the ultimate giver, because that's who you are, the ultimate giver. So with that, Gershon, we say we wish everybody a fun to do, and thank you. Don't go away, Gershon. And we're just going to say 1 second. Bye, everybody.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Joy of Living podcast. Now that's another step towards your healthier, happier, and wealthier life. Never hesitate to do good in the world, no matter what the situation. Join us for another upbeat discussion next time at barryshore.com. And be sure to leave a rating and subscribe to the show to get more conversations like this. And remember to share it with your family and friends too. See you on the next episode.